Of small carryovers, though, the single six, there's a carryover of just like $370 in that wager. That starts in race 3, 20-cent base bet. And then in race number 8, the high five is offered there, and there's a carryover of $2,309. That's a dollar base bet offered only in race number 8. Again, 8 races on the card. First post is in 43 minutes. Wonderful card here tonight. And race 1 kicks off the 50-cent pick 5. And if you're riding this pick 5, I think you're going to be rewarded very, very healthy, because this is a tough sequence, I think, in the pick 5. And we'll start things off with a maiden filly and mare 15 down to 10, claiming event to go 6 furlongs. Race number 1, field of 8, no program changes to speak of yet. But we do have several changes throughout the evening. I'll get those to you later on in the card. Just note that jockey Luan Machado is off all his mounts tonight. Machado is off all mounts. Now, race number 1, maiden fillies and mares to start things off to go 6 furlongs. This is a race, I think, if you're playing the pick 5, you'll need to definitely spread, or even the double or pick 3s, because this race, I think a number of horses could win. I end up going with number 4, Boomtown, as my top pick from the Ben DeLong barn. Rodney Prescott with the return call. This one ran third last time for the 15 level. Was coming off a quick rest there, just 7-day, I believe, turnaround, and was the beaten favorite that day to My Discreet Secret, who won off well, but I think this one, the 5 furlong distance, I don't think is her best lick. I think 6 furlongs will be fine, even further. But Boomtown, the daughter of Patio Prado, is my top pick at 7-2 on the morning line. I think she should sit a good trip here. And jockey Rogelio Miranda has the call tonight. Prescott was up last time. Miranda up tonight. Now, number 6, American Values, one of 2 horses in here from the barn of Ben Colebrook. I'm going to give her my second spot here. She's a 3-year-old daughter, City Zip, coming in from New York, where last time she was 4th, beating 11 lengths at the $50,000 claimant level. She took some money on debut in that straight maiden at Belmont. That was a turf debut going 7 furlongs, and she beat 3 horses and had a trouble trip. She veered in at the start, was caught out wide. Like I said, she came back, kind of ran even. She was 4th, but that was a 5-horse field, so she only beat 1 that day, but drops to the lowest level of her career, $15,000, comes from a good barn and gets the top jockey. For third, number 5, Fide's Ratio, this one from the Danny Turner barn, ran at Charlestown off that lengthy layoff last start and was up and after the pace. Ended up being 5th, beating 7 lengths, was way out wide on that bull ring and was lugging in it a little bit, but that doesn't concern me. A lot of horses going around that bull ring have trouble negotiating the turn. That was at a 4.5 furlong distance, stretches out to 6 furlongs today, and I think with the stretch out, it should help this one's chance. What I do like about that horse, that local jockey here from the Tri-State, Carlos Diaz, went up and rode that one that day. Now, he doesn't have them out today, but certainly thought enough to go ride her up there at Charlestown last start. And on the class drop, I think she figures after the 4, 6, and 5, if you're playing the pick 5, I think you hit as many as you can in here. You got to use the other Colebrook, the 3 Lyonnaise, and another one I like to the inside of that one is Miss Magic from the Lisa Merritt barn, debuted at Presque Isle on the Poly and was well bet. Very well bet, but broke really slow and then kind of rushed up and was basically just galloped home late. The jock never even asked the horse down the lane when I went back and watched the replay, but 10-1, I think some value. And then taking some early money right now, the 8 Helga Schmelga on debut. Now, debuts for a barn that doesn't win at a very healthy clip on debut, but shows a good series of works out. She's well bred and gets Sonny Leon. So I'm going to spread. Those are the numbers I'll use in the pick 5. I'm going to use basically every horse but the 1, 6, and 7. So 4, 6, 5 are my top horses, though, in the opener. Now, race 2 starts the early pick 4, a small takeout, just 14% takeout on our pick 4s here at Turfway, and we kick things off with a full field of fillies and mares to go 6.5 furlongs. No program changes at this time in race number 2 to start that pick 4. Now, in the pick 4, I'm going to use the same numbers I used in the first, just a little bit different order here. Number 6, Mischievous Last, daughter Into Mischief from the Cordenbrock barn. Now, this one comes off a layoff, but Matt Cordenbrock will have his horses ready off a layoff. He's a very good trainer, limited starters here at the meet, but He did have a winner back in December. Hasn't won one yet at this winter spring meeting, but this one is well placed in for the 75 non-3 level and been working very well here at the track. You'll see that bullet back on February 5th, the first of 11 that day. That was a 48-4 breeze from the pole. And prior to that, a couple of solid drills, a 5 furlong before that and a half mile before that. So she'll be ready. She gets Gabe Lagunas tonight. She rates a slight edge for me. Now, number 4, a horse at 15-1 morning line odds, I'm going to use as my second choice, and I'll use her along with the top pick in the pick 4 as well. That's Robotron. 15-1 on Mike's morning line. Now, this one exits a fourth, third, and second place finish in each of her last 3 starts. Now, those were at a condition of non-winners a race in a full calendar year, and gets class relief tonight. Even though she's going up to the $7,500 level, she's getting class relief because she's going back to a restricted non-winners a 3 lifetime race. And 15-1, I got to use her. She's going to get a good solid pace in front of her, and she's well drawn in the middle and gets a good young talented rider in Heriberto Figueroa. She is my second choice. Now for third, number 5 at Channing Road. This is another one, decent price, 6-1 on the morning line with Carlos Diaz. Now Philip Jones sends this one out. She's a daughter, Awesome Patriot, out of a Devil's Bag mare, so she should like the turf. A lot of those horses do, the poly. A lot of those horses like the turf, and they seem to transition over to the poly very well. This one made the Polytrack debut back on January 25th here at Turfway Park and was second, beating 2 lengths to a pretty good horse named Christian Miss. That horse is from the Steve Cahill barn. We'll see her later tonight in a starter allowance restricted race. So coming off the bench, hadn't raced since September, so just 4 or 5 month layoff there. Horse ran very well, should improve with the second start over the track. 6-1 Channing Road, my third choice. 6-4-5 in race 2. That does start the early pick 4. Speaking of multi-race wagers, race 3 starts the 20-cent single 6 jackpot. Small carryover, just shy of $400 in that wager, and it's a 20-cent base bet. Starts every night here at Turfway in race 3. And in the third race, there will be a jockey change on the 7 to be announced later on. As I spoke earlier, Machado is off all of his mounts. Now, normally going a mile distance, I don't like to lean on all the outside horses. I like to use some horses to the inside, but looking at the card here and looking at the program for this third race, I think the 3 best horses are to the outside. My fourth choice has drawn the 2-hole, but my top pick in the race, number 11, Big Island, broke maiden here two starts back. Now, it took 16 times to break his maiden, as he is a 6-year-old, but he's raced here twice at Turfway, winning a second. And the horse kind of had what you call, a lot of people call a light bulb moment. He finally broke the maiden, figured out what was going on, and he came back and ran the best number of his life in his subsequent start. That was last start on January 16th, going the 6 furlong distance, and rallied from well off the pace with Rodney to be second, just losing that head bob to Horse Feathers. Horse Feathers is another one in tonight. Now that one's stepping up into class. That one's in a wide open race later on instead of the non-3, but Big Island been keeping good company, and I think we'll like the stretch out in distance. The horse is by Rapin out of a Yanaguska mare, and should be a little closer to the pace going the route distance. But I expect Rodney to probably squeeze on him a little bit out of the gate and get good position from that high draw and trying to cross and clear. Doesn't have to be on the lead, but certainly will need to display some speed early to not be caught out wide. Now, the horse right to his inside, I think, will have the same kind of a trip. Number 10, Title Effect, 6-1 for the Billy Morey barn. Another one well-mounted tonight for Heriberto Figueroa. And this one is one that it doesn't win a lot. Is 1 for 17, but is in the money, has 5 second-place finishes, and should set a good trip. With that outside draw, like I said, will have some speed. I don't think he has the speed of the 11. I think the 11 will cross and clear, but if Figueroa can get this one into the race early, get over, save some ground down the backstretch, and kind of tuck in and stay out of that wind, has a big chance. Number 12, Against the Line, gets Johnny McKee with the return call. 2 back, this horse ran here for the $30,000 level. That was going a mile, was 4th, beating 13 lengths at a big price, and that was a pretty good field coming off a couple-month layoff that day. And we've seen a lot of horses here that was ridden by Del La Cruz back in the December meet that are coming back and they're winning. So it's a pretty good angle. Del La Cruz wasn't riding this track very well at all, and all those horses he was riding that were hitting the board came back and win at a tremendous number. Last I looked, it was like 40% wins coming back. So this one came back in the 6 furlong distance, was 5th, beating 4 lengths, and took all the money, was the favorite. But I think the increase in distance will help this one for the Greenhill barn, who's starting to heat up, had a win last week on the program. Outside of those 3, maybe the 2, Warrior's Dream, well drawn to the inside, will be closing late, will be one I would use as well in those rolling wagers. Now, the fourth race from the track is a maiden 5-claimer to go a mile. 34 minutes to post to race number 1. As we look into this fourth race, there will be a jockey change on the 5 to Rafael Hernandez. Scratch numbers 11 and 14. And be aware the 13 does draw in and will race. Now, this race, I was in between two horses when I was trying to put together my top pick, and I end up going with the horse that's the favorite over the other one that's 12-1, but I really can't separate them too much. I'm just going for the 2 Golden Ready just because has some recency to the form, so consistency comes from a barn that's really starting to warm up. Now, it was ice cold here in December, but at this winter spring meet has started 18 horses, 5 wins, 3 seconds, and a third. That's Larry Smith barn. He's been the leading trainer across the river the last several summers and gets the leading jockey here, a 6-time jockey champion in Alvin Jimenez. And I'm going to give this one the slight nod. Stretched out to the mile distance for the first time at last start and was up and after the pace and did box on well to finish second, beating just a couple of lengths, and looks to move forward for Mike Jamieson and Larry Smith. Now, the horse drawn right to the inside of him is one I do like a lot tonight. This one is 12-1 on the morning line, Spike and Bull. He's a 4-year-old gelding by Temple City out of a valid wager mare. Debuted here on January 17th here at Turfway at the 6.5 furlong distance. And this one was quite a handful. First of all, in the post parade, and then you'll see in the short comment there, rank at the start, then never close. So the horse was all keyed up, and sometimes you'll see that on debut. And it did have the rail that day. That was going 6.5, so it had a lot of things working against him that day. Stretches out to the mile. I think the breeding suggests a route, and is drawn well to the inside. Leandro knows this horse. The horse has a trip over the track, and what I like about this horse is it took money that day. It took a lot of early money. Did end up drifting up to just around 12-1 that day, but I look for this horse to move forward on the class strap and stretch out. 12-1 is a must use for me in race 4. Also in there, number 5, Fayetteville is one that I'll throw in. 10-1 price play for Frank Dunham and Dale Romans. Now, Juan Machado is off his mounts. Rafael Hernandez picks up the mount. This one kind of ran even on poly debut. Last start was 5th, beaten 10 lengths. Was way out wide, but was running on at the end. And this one since then, what I like, since that December 19th start, you look at the work tab. 3 works, and this horse has shipped from the Louisville area to Turfway to breeze over this local surface. Now, 3 works back on January 14th, had a pretty good drill, half mile, 49 seconds flat. That was a 5th best of 40 that day. Followed up on January 27th with a bullet 5-furlong drill in 101, and then most recently on February 11th, another 5-furlong drill, 101 and 4. That was a 4th best. The horse is training very well. Sometimes those horses run over this poly track, and they need to start to figure it out. Once they've ran over it, they're used to it, and this one has came back and worked 3 times. So I think this horse looks to improve much better than that 5th place finish last start. He's 10-1 on the morning line in a race that's not really outside the couple of top horses loaded with talent. So 2-1-5 for me in race number 4. Now, race 5 at Turfway is a filly and mare starter allowance for the girls to go 6 furlongs. It does start a pick 4. Late pick 4, just 14% takeout. A couple of scratches. The 2 and 14 are out. And this race is a very wide open race in here. I end up going with a 6-1 shot as my top pick, number 8, Trickazar. Comes from a good barn for the TK Stables and Ray Hernandez. Ray Hernandez hitting at just about 24% in the win column. Now, this one made the poly debut last start, and it was an impressive one. She rolled to victory, rallied from well off the pace to win going away. She split horses and just ran up the score from there. She won by 5. She could have won by 15. But on poly debut, it was impressive. Now, that was a dated nickel race. This is a starter allowance, so much tougher race. But I think it's going to get a perfect pace setup because I think this race is loaded with speed. Pretty much over half the field has speed. The 3 ago, the 4 ago. Of course, the 5 has speed. The 6 will display speed. The 9 first off the claim for Danner. The 11 has to be up and near the lead. So will the 12. But the race is going to set up for a closer. And of all the horses in the race, when I look at it, Trickazar, she looks like she'll sit the best trip on the second poly track. 6-1, I have to use her. Now, another one who I think will be rolling late, and if she didn't draw the rail, I probably would have used her on top. That's number 1. Look the other way. She ran second here last start, beating 2 lengths to a stake winner named Sweet and Wicked from the Felipe Salas barn. That's an Indiana bred. She's made a couple of, I think, $300,000, maybe even $400. But Sweet and Wicked, very well met filly that day for the 18 level, and looked the other way, just chased her around there. She rallied from 5th and ended up 2nd. And now she had a lot of things working against her that day. She had the rail that day again, so she's drawn it once more, and I'm going to use her, but I'm just just because of post positions, I'm using her second, but she does have a right to win. She will be closing late, and she gets a very talented rider in Rafael Hernandez. For third, number 6, Lucky at Justice. This one, I think, is one that doesn't have to be near the lead. Now, the last couple of starts, she was rushed up and after the lead. You'll see the short comment last start. In fact, it even says, rushed inside, then weakened. Time before, she was up and after the pace. But if she can repeat some of those, even the 3-back where she rallied from 6th, or when she broke her maiden in Arlington in September, she rallied from off the pace. So I think if she can just be taken from off the pace, come running. She doesn't have the speed to go with these horses, and McKee is not a really noted speed rider. He rides this track pretty well. He comes from off the pace and goes around, and Lucky at Justice, I think that's what she needs here, 10-1. I'm using some price horses here in a race number 5. I'm going 8-1-6, 6-1 over 5-1 over 10-1 to start that pick 4. Well, ladies and gentlemen, at this time, we're going to take a little break here as we pause for the cause, and we ask that you please rise as we honor America with the playing of our national anthem. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Turfway Park. Exciting Thursday evening for racing here from Florence, Kentucky. We have 8 races on the card. Temperature in the low 30 degrees, and the polytrack, of course, is listed as fast. 26 minutes to post for race number 1. The mutual windows are open. If you'll take out your racing programs, I'll give you tonight's late program changes. Race number 1 kicks off the pick 5, no changes. In fact, the first 2 races are clear. Races 1 and 2 are free and clear of any changes. If you'll page to the 3rd race on your scorecard, there will be a jockey change to be announced on number 7, Super Valentine. Number 7, Super Valentine, TBA, and scratch number 13, Unbridled Rebel. 4th race, jockey change on the 5, Fayetteville, make the rider Rafael Hernandez. Scratch the 11, King Bing Hawk. Beware the 13 draws in off the also will race, and a scratch number 14, Private Boone. Race 5, start of the late pick 4. A couple of changes. Scratch number 2, Chasing By. Number 2, Chasing By is out. The 13 will race, and scratch 14, Patsy J. In the 6th race, scratch number 5, Rollin' with Olin. Number 5, Rollin' with Olin, has been scratched from tonight's 6th race. 7th race, scratch number 2, Bahama Channel. 7th race, number 2, Bahama Channel, has been scratched. There's a jockey change for number 11, Daddy's on Strike. Make the rider John McKee. John McKee on the 11, Daddy's on Strike. 8th and final with that $2,309 carryover in the high five, and there are a couple of changes. Number 2, Private Spot, the apprentice, is 5 pounds overweight. There will be a jockey change on number 6, Hugh B, to be announced. There will be a rider on the 6 to be announced later. And scratch number 13, Xandar. The 13 Xandar is out. Well, those are the changes at this time. Any additional changes coming in throughout the balance of the program, I'll get those to you as they do so. 23 minutes. Good luck. Welcome back to the Turfway pre-race show, ladies and gentlemen. Prior to the break, we got through the first 5 races on the card. We're going to take a closer look into the final 3 races on the program. And race number 6, start of that final rolling pick 3, is a 18,000 down to 16 wide open claimant event to go 6 furlongs. In the 6th race, my top pick in here is number 4, North Elkhorn. North Elkhorn comes from the barn of Jimmy Corrigan, gets Alvin Jimenez up tonight for the souped-up stables of Tom Campbell. This one ran at Mahoney Valley back on January 11th, and that was a $15,000 race. The horse was third, beating 11 lengths to a really good horse named Greg Rules. And this one, prior to that, was second, just beaten here for the 12-5 level, going 5.5 furlongs, and was closing, gets an extra 16th of a mile today to set up his late running style. He's ran here 5 times, has 2 wins, a second and a third place finish. Gets the leading rider and gets a added distance of ground from that start here to back here at Turfway when he was second, just beaten. Now, the horse in that race that beat him was named Hemp Hemp Hooray. That was a horse coming from the Wesley Ward stable. That one was claimed out of that race by a trainer named Bobby Klein. He ran that one back here in a stake event, and Hemp Hemp Hooray ran very well, hitting the board in that stake race. So North Elkhorn has the license to improve and steal this race at 6-1 odds. Now, for second, number 9, Floral Plus. This one's 5-2 on the morning line, but I'm going to go against it. That barn's kind of went cold here the last couple of months, and although he is a pretty good horse, he was second, beaten just 2 lengths to Edge Rocket, who's a monster in that starter allowance last start when it was making its first off the claim. But I think this one is up against it. Does have a good draw to the outside. There is some speed in front of him, but I think North Elkhorn may get first run on Floral Plus, and Floral Plus is my second choice for those reasons. Now, for third, number 3, Gorgeous George. This one is 15-1 morning line, comes from the D. Poulos barn. Edgar Perez hasn't ridden very many here at the meet, but he is winning at 20%. Very capable rider from the Chi-Town area, and is well mounted in here. Now, this one was 10th, beating 11 lengths last start here at Turfway, but that was a first level optional claimant allowance. Now, we've seen several horses out of this race come back and run very well out of that Tale of Fame race. Tale of Fame, of course, was from the Gennaro Garcia barn. And prior to that, that race at Hawthorne, that allowance race where he's 6 beaten 10 lengths to Colonel Kirk and Boyfriend Material, that was a very good race. The horse had a trouble beginning through a gate fit, in fact, but if that horse can repeat the second or third starts back on his form, or even when he won that starter at Arlington, he's going to be tough to handle in here. And at 15-1, I don't want to leave him off my ticket, and Gorgeous George is my third choice for those reasons. 4-9-3 in race number 6. Seventh race is an allowance event for 3 and ups, which have never won 2 to go 1 mile. There is a scratch of the 2 Bahama Channel. That horse ran here last week in the Battaglia and has been scratched. So that reduces the field here to just 11 runners, and my top pick has drawn the rail, number 1, All Out. Son of Violence comes from a high percentage barn in Ray Hernandez for owner Ed Orr. This one, 2 back here on December 27th on that first poly try. Ran third, beaten 5 lengths to a good field. Followed that up, second start over the poly, and was up and after the pace that day and was hooked the entire way, never wavered. That horse showed some real grit that night and fought on to win over a horse named Made in America. Of course, Made in America came back and broke his maiden last week here at the track, and All Out, drawn the rail. This horse gets my top nod. Very, very tenacious horse here at 3 to 1. I'm going to use as my top pick. For second and third, these 2 horses I'm going to pick are coming out of the same race. Now, one of those has had a start since then, but number 8, Bourbon Traffic, back on January 11th, was second, beaten 3 lengths to a monster named a Ramsey Solution, and followed that up, came back and tried the 1.25 mile classic distance in a first-level optional claim and allowance race. That was from multiple winners, and that one didn't fare so well, but was bothered repeatedly in the stretch that day, and you'll see in the trouble line does say bothered in the stretch, but that horse is better than that, and you got to throw that one out, including for the reason that it was a wide open event. It was a 25,000 wide open claimer or a first level allowance race, and Lowe's Journey came from the clouds that day, actually last to first up the fence. They set some pretty good fractions, and I'm going to draw a line through that. This one comes from Good Barn and Colebrook, gets Corrales, who's the second leading rider, and number 6, E-Crew, faced Bourbon Traffic in his last start. His last start, he was third, beaten 10 lengths, and beaten just about, looks like 6.5 lengths to my second choice last start. But that one did have a rough trip, was checked very hard early on, was in a box, and never could get out that day. And like I said, I think he's better than as well. He's 4 to 1 on the morning line. Those are the 3 horses for me in race number 7, 186. The 8th and final race has the high five wager that's offered. It's a $1 base bet. There is a carryover, $2,309 in that wager. My top pick all the way to the outside here, and that's number 12, Super Touch. I like the post position at this 6 furlong distance, but what I like the most about this horse is the possible pace meltdown in here. This one will be rolling late, and back on January 11th, making that poly track debut, coming off the shelf, hadn't raced since October 28th when he made that January 11th poly debut, and he rallied from 7th, ended up being 4th, beaten 5 lengths, was caught out wide and kind of shifted ground, but Cairn has came back and won a couple of races since then. Wild Zambezi, an improviser in this race as well, and he did run in behind them, but you're getting 12 to 1. The horse has a trip over the track, comes from a Good Barn and Ron Kales, and gets the hot riding apprentice and gets a break in weight. Joseph Ramos riding very well at the meet. He's having a banner meet the last couple, 2-3 weeks. He's been on fire. He's riding very well, and he's riding this track well, and I like to catch those trends when someone figures that out and really gets on a hot streak. I want to follow along at 12 to 1. I want this horse to be on my ticket, and Ramos knows how to ride the track. He'll have this horse in contention into the turn. He'll save some ground, and as soon as they switch out, turn it for home, he'll come off. You'll see him slingshot to the outside, and he'll roll with momentum. And there is some speed in this race as several of these horses faced each other last start, and there was a big pace meltdown, and a horse named Bro came rolling down the center and ran over them all. But I look for number 12, Super Touch, to do that today at 12 to 1. For second, number 7, TT, came out of that same race with Bro. Bro, of course, won, who's drawn the 11-hole this race. TT was second. I think a more perfectly timed ride from Corey Orm may help this one's chances. He is a 3-time Turfway winner and 7 from 11 in the money. Number 1, Wild Zambezi, is another one who came out of that race as my top pick, but he's drawn the fence. He's drawn the 1-hole. Of course, Green Hill did have a winner here last week out of the 1-hole, went nothing faster, gets Albin up, taking over the reins for Gabe Lagunas. Now, this one has never won at Turfway. 6 starts, 2 seconds, 2/3, but does have a win at the distance. The horse has very consistent form and seems to be rounding into shape. And that January 11th start, that was the first start since August 17th, and it made that early move. It kind of made a move too soon, in fact, but did fight on well to be second. Looks to move forwards. Second start off the layoff from the Green Hill barn, and is my third choice at 4 to 1, 12, 7, 1 for me. Well, currently the horses are in the paddock getting saddled. 15 minutes to post. We'll take a look at them, and I want you to take a look at the pick 5. It starts here in race 1 with just 15% takeout. Good luck.